Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Tracy Show. Of course, I am Tracy, and before I let my guest introduce himself, I am going to pay a couple of bills here. Get this out of the way. I'm trying not to cough, everybody. I apologize. I've been dealing with a bad, hopefully not coming down with a cold sinus for about 2 or 3 days here, but we'll make it through. First of all, hit that subscribe button, hit it, destroy it, obliterate it. We're still stuck at 426 trying to get to 500. So that means we're 74 away. I know there's 74 people out there that would just love this show. Subscribing literally costs nothing. Um, so obliterate, smash that, destroy that subscribe button. Also support me on Patreon. Um, Patreon support helps me to keep this channel going so that little duck that's in the corner disappears. Also, I'm trying to get a professional looking desk so I don't have to use my bedroom to podcast because I don't like it, but desk and microphones cost money. Um, Definitely support me on my personal GoFundMe page. As I stated before, and I'll say it again, I'm trying to raise $2,500 to pay for some personal expenses that have came up in my life. Don't want to talk about those because it's just too depressing and don't want to start crying. Finally, well, second to last, support the First Baptist Church North Drama Academy, a program that I am pleased to be heading up that starts July the 18th, that teaches inner city children about um, drama production and will end up with a drama presentation in September. We're trying to raise $3,500, so your donations are appreciated. And lastly, I haven't did this in a while, but here we go. We're going to ask you to visit our candidate's website at travisgearhart.com. His website is travisgearhart.com. And speaking of that, sir, you may go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Tracy Carson, for having me on. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Travis Gearhart. I am a Libertarian candidate for State Rep District 4. To give you some background on me, I actually used to be a Republican. I was very involved in the party back in the day. I was the youngest elected Hebron Town Council member ever elected at 25. I can't believe that was 15 years ago now. And I was the first Republican elected in, I think it was like 20 years or something. So I've got some experience. Like I said, I've been on my town council. I ran for Porter County Council. I've held some other positions. I've been on park boards. I've been police liaison when I was on the town council. I've been on the planning commission in Wisconsin when I lived up there. So I've got experience, but being in that experience, it really turned me on to how the two major parties work. It kind of turned me on to how they both directly and indirectly kind of move you in whatever direction, right? So let's say one of my campaign points is legalizing cannabis. uh Republicans during the campaign might not say anything, but once you get on there, they'll get on. If you were to actually win, once you get on and you have the opportunity to start doing that, what usually happens is, well, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna have to go on to this board, and we're gonna have to put you on this. We're gonna have to do, you really want to be out on this committee. So they indirectly do stuff that way, and then they also, I mean, a lot of times the party will actually just run people directly against you if they want and throw money at it. It's kind of one of the other things that are talked about in politics. The end of the day, you've got candidates like Thomas Massey down in Kentucky that was a lifetime, not lifetime, been there for several terms. Great percentages, great voting record with the Republican Party. And what did they do? They threw however many tens of millions of dollars at him to try to unseat him. it's fine. It is what it is, but it's one of those reasons that I'm not going to continue, kind of go into the trough of either party. So that's what really moved me into being, to switch into Libertarian Party. I've always been a little more libertarian leaning, and the older I've gotten, the more I've embraced different elements of the Libertarian Party. Um, so yeah, so then I think that reflects in what my messaging is for this campaign, and it reflects in what our messaging is for our own podcasts and stuff like that that we do. That's kind of in tandem with the campaign.
And pardon me, what office did you say you're running for?
State Rep District 4.
And you're running in Indiana, right?
Yes, yes. So we're in Northwest Indiana. So if you're
Yeah,
familiar
and I was
with
gonna say
the
Hebron.
Valparaiso area.
Yeah, and see, here's my problem. I live in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay.
So, um, that's pretty much the only city I know. I'm not, I mean, I know it's north of me, but I don't know whether it's northeast or northwest. I didn't, north.
Northwest. Oh, Northwest Indiana. So we probably call ourselves region rats. We're the only section. In fact, I'm in Central Time Zone right now, so we're the only section of Indiana that's in Central Time Zone because we go along more with Chicago in that respect. We get all Chicago newspapers. We get all Chicago. We're only about 35, 45 minutes, depending on traffic, an hour and a half, but away from the city. So we can be in Chicago. So yeah, we're Chicagoland, basically.
So you're closer to Gary and
Yep.
Hammond and oh, okay, okay, so now it's coming to mind. So that means I've got to ask you about the Bears. So I personally don't think it's
Absolutely.
gonna happen. I just I
Same.
can't I don't think it's gonna happen. But because I'm a football fanatic, everybody that watches this podcast knows I'm a football fanatic. I'm a 49ers fan, the soon to be six-time
Oh,
world champions. Just say that offset. But how do how do you say you want to save Indiana taxpayers money and you bring in a professional team that asks for taxpay? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not the smartest person, right? I'm not I'm not a scholar. I'm not I don't have a college degree. But I'm like, well, you're saying you want to save taxpayers money, but you're bringing in a team that's asking for taxpayers money.
right. You know what I find myself asking the exact same question, Tracy. There's two other elements to that too that a lot of people don't really take note of, and one is that you know the the Indianapolis Colts stadium that Indiana made an investment in, that's not even finished being paid off right now. There's
Mm-mm.
still taxpayers are still paying money for the Colts stadium, and in the
That they
meantime,
didn't ask
governor
for.
that they
They
didn't
did
ask for.
not, we did not ask for our mayor. I remember that story, not to cut you off, but the mayor at
No, it's
that
all right.
time, Bert Peterson, Democrat, went to the Colts and said, hey, we'll build you a new stadium. And they did that donut tax where they taxed Marion County, Hamilton County, Johnson County. It was like 8 counties all together. They didn't even ask, they didn't threaten to move, they didn't threaten to do anything.
Yeah. See,
And
they're doing a similar tax with us up here in Lake and Porter County. So, and that's kind of so where we're at in Porter County is a little bit to the east of Lake County. So Lake County is the most far northwest county, right? That's the county that includes Gary, Maryville, Hammond. And so this isn't even just a Republican thing. Like you said, Democrat in Indianapolis had made that decision for you guys. Up in here, it's also a Democrat, and Mayor Thomas McDermott in Hammond also working in tandem with Republicans downstate. So while you have that going on, you have they're working together to make sure that everything gets pushed through so they can create the taxing authority. They created the taxing authority, and the taxing authority said, all right, well, we're going to have a tax increase on what do they call it? Well, there's a hotel tax that would be an
right,
increase, and then there's also the basically the going out to eat tax. So the you go out to eat, you get a tax for like a restaurant tax, basically.
right.
um so now but they want to extend that over to Porter County, which you and I both know, Tracy, that anytime you create
Oh, I think we may have lost Travis. Oh no, Travis, you're gone. Let me try to. Yeah, I think we may have lost Travis. Can you all hear? Can you all out there watching hear me? Okay, so nope. I think we lost Travis. Let's try this again. It'll be just a second, guys. I'm gonna reboot here just to refresh and get on here. We're gonna reload this. Okay, so yep, we've lost Travis. So once Travis, thank you, Jonathan, for saying you can hear me. Okay, so we lost Travis. Um, I don't. This is unusual. I'm not used to losing guests here. So uh, just gonna wait here a couple minutes. Okay, there he is, right there.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, all of a sudden
No
my
problem. I'm
phone
like,
service. No, all of a sudden it just cut out. My bad. My apologies. But anyways, so while you have so anytime you create a taxing authority that you know that it's not going to stay at 1 to 5% anyways, which also even if it does somehow stay at 1%, that's still 1% of taxes for something that, like you said, nobody asked for. You've got it sitting over there. It's not going to do Porter County any good, really. Um, and and there's I mean there's so much more to it. There, the location. I don't even know if they know exactly what the location is going to be because the first one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've seen a couple of different reports on it. The first location they weren't able to do it because of environmental issues, so they're looking at some other things, or maybe I think maybe it was too swampy, they couldn't build on it, something along those lines. And so, yeah, I'm against it. I'm like you. I don't think it's going to happen anyways. I think eventually this is just a very long chess game between the McCaskies and the state of Illinois. And I think the state of Illinois is going to ultimately bow down and just give them what they want. Honestly, though, kudos to Illinois for at least initially standing up and saying, hey, you guys are a multi-billion-dollar team franchise. You guys can pay for your own stuff. I mean, listen, I'm a big football fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, so it's a little
oh
bit
no, wait a
I know.
minute, hold on. My condolences. Oh no, not the cat. Oh no, no,
Thank you.
oh.
See what I have to go through. See what I go through in my life.
Jerry Jones, say what you want about Jerry Jones. At least he paid for his stadium.
He did. Yes, he did.
He,
He did.
he,
He
he,
got
he
a
did
lot heavy
pay for it.
sponsorship, and he
I'm not sure, Travis, what's going on with your end, but if you're going in and out, I'm not sure
that
what's
I
going on.
that
Okay, you're back. So yeah, you can
that
say
better.
that
All right.
about Jerry. He got a lot of sponsorships, but taxpayers didn't have to pay for it.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's. I'm like, just happy with Soldier Field. It's one of the few older stadiums that has good memories. Just be happy with that. That Lambeau Field. Don't get rid of those two. You gotta keep those
no.
two.
I don't think they're even talking about leaving Lambeau. I don't think Lambeau's even
No,
in
because
discussions.
the Green Bay Packers are actually owned by shareholders.
Yeah. There's a percentage of the team. I mean, I think that's kind of a little bit of a gimmicky. I mean, at the end of the day, if they really tried to do something as shareholders, I don't think that the Packers, the main owners would let it happen very long. But yeah, they have a system in place where it's publicly funded. So I respect the Packers. Again, as a Cowboys fan, 49ers and Packers would both whooped on us at the most inopportune times. But that's okay. That's football.
Yeah. So let's talk about your campaign.
Yes.
Indiana is the worst state for ballot access. I don't care. I know people say New York, I know people say Texas, but Indiana is the number one state. Thankfully for you as a libertarian, you don't have to go out and access to try to get on the ballot. But you do have to stay at a certain percentage to stay on the ballot.
Yes,
Um,
and that's our ballot access election is the state of the Secretary of State. That is this year, so we're pulling hard for. I think we're going to get it. I mean, we've maintained it since '94, because Lori's such a good candidate. Also, it's not just because well you're you have to have a libertarian because you're trying to get ballot access. It's not even just about that to me. It's about the fact that she's easily the most qualified out of the entire crew. I mean, Bo Bai, other than being Evan Bai's son, I'm not impressed. Anything I've seen, they kicked Morales out of the race for the Republicans and threw in this guy that Todd Young wanted, and then you have the independent candidate. I forget what Ballard's even calling
Mayor
it.
Ballard, yes, our
Yeah,
former mayor,
yeah.
former Republican.
Yes, yes, and good on him. I applaud him for kind of what he's doing.
Uh,
I get it. I understand wanting to be outside of the major parties, but I also wonder how what the intentions are, because I know there can be some political messery that
right.
happens.
So you all don't have you primaries. So nobody can go into the primaries to say, "Hey, I want to vote Libertarian," because again, Indiana makes me sick. Why we can't have open ballots during uh primaries? I don't know. I guess that's a part of the Indiana Constitution that has to be changed. But what
Yeah.
I'm getting at is this: who? How can I phrase this question where it's going to make sense? When you made the decision to run, what did that entail? Did you speak to, like, why is it that you wanted to run in the specific area? What are the issues? How are you going to address those issues?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's a great question. So my line of reasoning kind of went like this. I had left the Republican Party 8 years ago, 7 years ago. It's been a little bit since I've been involved in the Republican Party. And so I kind of, I've always kind of stayed involved. I've watched from afar. I've kept up with the news. And even when I was involved in the Republican Party, I was never super satisfied with the job that I thought Ed Soliday was doing as a state rep in District 4. It didn't really affect me because, I mean, it did, because it affects the whole state of Indiana. But back in my late 20s, when I was super involved, early 30s, I was involved in the Republican Party. Well, at least it's still a Republican that's in there, whatever. So, because I was down in Hebron, which had a different state rep, and so once I moved to Valpo, so I moved around a little bit. I moved to Wisconsin for a few years. I was in Chesterton. Other than being out of state for a few years, I've been in the region every time I've been in Indiana. I've lived in Chesterton. I live in Valparaiso now. I've been there for 3 years, but I'm a part of the whole town, the whole community. In fact, I had run for Porter County Council and went through in the primaries. I lost in the general, but I did get forward in the primaries. So, and that was, I think I was 31. This was 9 years ago, about 10 years ago. And, and so when there was an issue between the Portage mayor and Ed Soliday, so I'm sure you guys' electric bills are just as bad as ours, as far as all of our NIPSCO rate hikes and whatnots. So one of the people that are behind the NIPSCO rate hikes, or maybe not behind it, but very, very pro, in that camp, was Ed Soliday. Is Ed Soliday, actually. He sits on a couple of different boards that influence that decision, and he was a part of that whole thing. So when it became public knowledge that he had sent a nasty text to the mayor of Portage, something along the lines of, "I'll see to it that your city never sees state funding again." And it became public knowledge. And I don't know the mayor of Portage, Austin Bonta. I don't know him from Adam, but everything I've heard is that he's a good guy, and everybody I know in Portage loves him, Republican or Democrat. He's doing a good job, and and that's rare in government and public, in public space as well. So, the fact that you have such two polar opposites within the same political party having this type of public beef, it kind of made, I saw the opportunity. I said, you know what, somebody's got to run against him. I'm not going to run against him in the primary because I can't stand, I wouldn't probably be considered a Republican in good standing anyways. And definitely not just from a ballot point of view, but from a personal point of view, I definitely wasn't a Republican in good standing. And so I started exploring running against Ed Soliday as an independent. And I, on a lark, I kind of reached out to the Libertarian Party, primarily because I'd always been a little more libertarian. Even when I was a Republican, I was kind of a small L libertarian. I was very pro cannabis legalization, very pro gay marriage, or at least I did. It was an issue that I was like, I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be. I wasn't. There were certain things like that. I'm definitely centrist when it comes to abortion,
Okay, so Travis is having some issues with his phone. Okay,
there we go.
Travis, you're
I'm
having
sorry.
issues with your phone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is why I normally try to do it at home, but as soon as I'm done here, I have another event I'm going to walk right into. So I'm sorry for having these
Oh,
issues.
that's
So
okay. Just want to make sure we're hearing you.
yep, nope, I appreciate you. So anyways, though, so that was why I got into it. I was going to run as an independent, and I reached out to the Libertarian Party and talked with them. And Mike Teleski, the Porter County Libertarian chair, was talking to me. He's like, "Well, how do you feel about this and that and another?" And we are kind of talking about the issues. And he goes, he goes, I mean, you fit all the, every all the, you check all the boxes. You sound like a libertarian. And he goes, don't let this influence your decision. And he goes, but one of the things, the benefit of running as a libertarian is that we do have ballot access. And I said, okay. And so I looked at it. I kind of weighed the odds. I talked with my fiance about it a little bit, and that's what we ended up doing. And that was kind of the decision. So in the meantime, there is a Democrat that's in the race as well. He's, I think that a lot of the issues that we have, he's just very centrist on stuff that I think it's all well and good. For example, the NIPSCO bills. I think there's three very different contrasting points of views on that. And you have Ed Soliday that was involved in the NIPSCO rate hikes. You have the Democratic challenger that is saying, yeah, I think we need to figure some stuff out. Uh, I was just saw it on his campaign website this morning. I was doing a little bit of research just because I wanted to make sure I wasn't talking out of pocket, but there's not really any details on how that's gonna go. It's basically like, oh, we gotta figure it out with NIPSCO. Let's get this figured out. Mine, I'm very straightforward, very up the right there. I think we need a full audit. I think you have a legal monopoly in NIPSCO, and I think that you need to, if you're willing to give your CEO a, I think it's what, a 200% raise, I think, over the past couple of years, whatever the numbers were, it's like $12 million. And you're talking about how much you need to maintain infrastructure. Well, then you also donate $15,000 to the tornado relief efforts from the tornadoes that just went through. Now that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with donating money, and I'm all for that. But you just turned around and said, "Oh, hey, you just raised everybody rates, and now you're just giving the money away. You're giving the money away to a great cause, but that doesn't take away the fact that you got that money from us paying higher rates. So how about you just don't take the rates and let us donate the money to help the tornado relief? That's an option." But because NIPSCO has a legal monopoly, we don't have any say. We don't really have much of anything to say about it, right? We get our NIPSCO bills and we're kind of said, well, tough luck. Sorry, here's your bills. And you know, the Democrats like to talk a lot about cost of living, and the Democrats like to talk a lot about affordability. Republicans too, but lately the affordability is kind of like the Democrat buzzword. Well, then you have to be serious about NIPSCO. And so far, everything I'm seeing from the Democrats is just basically Republican light, which is how I view the Democrats, and I think most people 40 and under do. So
Well, a lot of us over 40 view them the same
yeah,
way.
true. Yeah, not to be ageist. I'm just saying statistically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are a
So,
rarity. You're ahead of your generation.
um, yeah, that's true. I'm looking at your website, and I'm gonna get into your platform here in just a moment. But I noticed something, and perhaps it's on here. I don't see a button where people can contribute to your campaign.
Yes, it is. It is in the. It is in the bottom part. So if you go down to, I start off with an introduction, and I think I might need to do a little bit of work on the website to make it a little quicker and easier to donate. Because you go into it. There is a
Oh,
link to
there it
click
is. It's
at the
at the
bottom.
very
Yep.
bottom. Okay, so I went to the
Yeah.
policy
I think
page.
I need to. I
Okay.
think I need to maybe
Never
need to put that in the top. But you see, that's
mind.
why I'm not very good at this, obviously.
Right. Well, okay, so now we can because I'm like, well, I'm so used to seeing it that that's the first thing I kind of
That's a
look
good
for.
thing. Money wasn't the first thing that I think about. I need more donations. Actually, we're setting up a couple of different. I'm gonna they'll be on the website, but also if you follow me on Facebook, I'll make sure we create some events. We're actually in the process of setting up two or three different. Over the next month and a half, two or three different people are hosting some fundraisers. So we've been a little late on the fundraising gate because also we don't have a primary. If you don't, if I can let my message be known and let it be, let people see, but I don't, I don't intend on sending you a mailer every 3 days like the Republicans and Democrats do. I'm going to show up. I'm going to knock on your door. I'm going to let you know what I believe in, but we don't have that type of money, and I don't expect that from the donors. So
Yeah. And so I'm going to share this screen because there's a couple of issues that I want to talk about. So you
absolutely.
start off saying that your platform is extremely simple, concise, and to the point. You promise that if you don't know the answer, you will try to pontificate or pretend I do. I'm a human being and I am limited in my knowledge just as much as the next person, which makes a lot of sense to me. And you go on. The first thing that I rarely hear, and this is one I'm so for this that I'm not sure why our, and we're only talking about state. In the state of Indiana, you can be the governor is the only one that has a term limit.
Yes.
State senators and state senators and state reps can just run and run and
And they
run
do.
and run and they do. I mean, there's some people that have been in there since I graduated from high school way back in the 90s.
Yep.
um when you talk about you said that you'd only serve 2 terms if you're
Yep.
elected. What would you do to, and I know this is a change in the Indiana Constitution, but I think uh your term would be if you get elected, what, 2 years or is it 4?
It would be 2 years. So it'd be 4 total years would be 2 terms. If elected, I
Okay, so
promise to only
if
run 2 terms.
great. What is keeping this from being a law? I think I know the answer, but I'm just kind of curious about what you think it is um that's keeping, because it makes so much sense to me. If you're there as a career, being a doctor, that's a career. Being a teacher, that's a career. Owning your own business, that's a career. Politics is about being a public servant. That's not a
Yep.
career.
Exactly. I'm 100% with you. And if you talk, when you poll people, when you talk to people and you lay it out like that, every single time they say across the board, I would guess 8 out of 10 times they say across the board exactly like you and I just did. If you're in politics and you're making money off of it and you're finding reasons to live there, I mean, think of all the people that are in Congress. I mean, there's no better example right now at the national level than Mitch McConnell currently. I mean, he's clearly been brain dead for several weeks, and the Republicans are just kind of limping it along. So, the short answer: greed, human nature. Um, Unfortunately, I don't want to sound too glass half empty there, but greed. Once you kind of get a taste of the, you get a taste at the trough. It's hard for a lot of people to stop making that sort of, having that sort of power, and that just as well as I do, that politicians get bought off while they're in there in the form of campaign donations. I mean, again, that's kind of the currency, right? The currency is campaign donations. All right, well, we need this done. We can make a nice little campaign donation. Oh, by the way, we own this resort down south. When you come down, you know what? Just stop by with your wife and kids. We'll take care of you. So it's nothing that's even on the books. It's all word of mouth stuff. I heard about it when I was involved in the Republican Party. Of anybody else that says that otherwise are lying. They all know that
Right.
it happens.
And Indiana also is not a recall state.
Right.
We have to deal with, and I'm going to say it, Brahm and Beckwith. I don't know which one of those two are the worst. Some days Brahm is worse than Beckwith, and other days Beckwith is worse than Brahm. That's the case for recall elections. But we don't even have that ability. We're the state that banned uh, ranked choice voting. It's
Yes.
as though we're saying, yeah, Indiana, we don't care what you think.
Yeah. Just shut up and pay your taxes.
Yeah, just shut up. Just be happy.
Yeah.
It's only a
We're not
7%
we're
sales
not the
tax.
worst state.
You
Our
could live in
education's and
Tennessee.
like. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's terrible, but I'm like, there's, and I don't even know, with our ruling on abortion or women's autonomy. It seems like the only, how can I say this and it makes sense? When Indiana legislators, well, no, let me backtrack. When Braun decided to kiss Trump's butt and wanted to redistrict the state,
Yep.
why? Because you used to be a Republican, because I got to ask this question. Don't they realize if you redraw districts, that population base may not stay the way it currently is? It was like they
Oh yeah.
were basing the map off of what is and not what is going to be. Like if you look at a city like Indianapolis, Indianapolis is like 38% Black and it's growing. What's to make them think, hey, that may grow to 42%, it may grow to 50%, it may decrease? It's like they were it's like he wasn't thinking. Like your mind isn't like somebody forgot to turn the burner on. Like turn it on because like you weren't thinking like you just think that all white people don't take this wrong, but you think just this is gonna just always be this thing. What makes you think that if you split up Indianapolis into four districts that you wouldn't get four Democrats?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is all about, and we knew this. I was actually down there at the state convention the year that maybe it wasn't the last redistricting. It might have been the one before that, but it was the year that they did it, and I wasn't involved in that. I was just a regular delegate, nothing special. But they it was common knowledge and kind of whispered amongst the people, hey, we just heard that we're gonna get, we're kind of gonna get screwed up there in District 1, but it's going to create another Republican district. So we're going to be stuck with, at the time it was Visclosky. We're going to be stuck with Visclosky. But you know what? That we're going to create an extra Republican district. So that'll end up being good in the wash, and the Republicans will make sure they take care of us up here a little bit. And everyone was like, oh, okay, well, that's nothing. I mean, it was common knowledge. that was what was basically being done. Like, hey, we're gerrymandering the crap out of this. You guys are gonna have a Democrat up there no matter what. I mean, they've drawn up District 1 congressional district so that it is a Democrat. Well, as best they can, within, using what they have, because they have how you vote. They have exactly how you vote. We have systems that labels you a strong Democrat, a weak Democrat, a moderate, and you get the voter mail accordingly. And it depends on which primaries you vote in and what years you vote and whatnots. There's certain years that they already have it built into the system, like when Obama was in there was a lot of people that switched over to vote for Obama because they might have been Republicans, but they were excited about voting for the first black president you can see possibly. There was a little bit of that, and we always take that into account. Of course, everyone's got to be loud now, but so that was something that was taken into account. But yeah, so that was kind of common knowledge. So that's what the gerrymandering was about. Yeah, and I'm sorry, they didn't call it gerrymandering; they called it redistricting. But that was what it was. It was just, and again, to be fair, because I know every Republican on the planet's going to say, or yeah, every Republican on the planet is going to be like, well, the Democrats do it in California and Illinois. And yes, they absolutely do. That doesn't make it right. And it doesn't, and it's not the conception. It's not what the Constitution has said. Like you're playing politics with resources. You know what I mean?
And again,
Like,
they're going off of the current population. They're not even thinking
yes. And that too. Yeah,
if
that's obviously a factor.
what happens if I don't know non-voters start showing it's like they just went because
Yep.
I'll
Yep.
say this and I'll move on to the next issue.
Oh, it's
What
okay.
could be gerrymandering? Strong voter turnout. It will
You're
beat it
right.
100% of the time, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now I know
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, but you're just drink," but it'll beat it. I don't know what else will beat it. I know
I
of
would like
nothing else that will beat it.
something that I've kicked around, and it would be almost impossible to pass, I think. But in a perfect world, and I could pass one law, and I could snap my fingers and pass one law, right? Let's give me Empire Travis for 5 minutes, right? And I'm allowed to pass one law. If I had that opportunity, I would make it so that you have a threshold, and you can argue what that threshold is. We can call it 50%, we can call it 45%. I mean, but some sort of threshold that says if there aren't this number of voters that show up, if you don't reach a percentage of voters that show up, it does an automatic redo and you start the whole process over again, because that's basically a vote of no confidence, right? You're basically, if you don't show up to vote, you are essentially voting by not voting and saying none of the above, right? Now, we don't have a marker on our election sheets that you can mark none of the above. The only way that you can say I don't agree with any of these people is by not showing up to vote. So I think that there should be a percentage that would help eliminate that problem. It would force people to. It wouldn't be a law. It's not, nobody's showing up to your house with a gun and saying, "Hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to show up and vote. If you don't, you're gonna get in trouble, or we're gonna tax you." Nothing like that. Just, I mean, if it does a redo every time, then now you're going to make the politicians show up to your stuff more. Hey guys, I'm here at your FOP cookout, or not FOP. I mean, maybe FOP, but I don't know. Pick something. Pick any sort of
Yeah.
cookout, any sort of public event, right? If the politicians don't get the percentage and they got to restart the whole process, guess what? They're going to start going to more stuff. They're going to start listening to more people. They're going to start having some different opinions because they're going to have to talk to the voters. Right now, you have such voter apathy. And I understand it. I didn't vote really much over the past 6 years. Voter apathy is a problem. So yes, if you could give me that, I think would solve a lot of problems. But
Yeah.
again, passing it would
So
be so hard.
yeah, understand. And the next issue, this is the one I always say I feel kind of iffy on, and this is a personal religious type of argument that I always make. You have is your number two issue of legalizing cannabis. And I
Yes.
know everybody says they disagree with me. And I know people disagree with me, but I'm not budging on this. I'll
That's
say it
okay.
in this way. Do I think people should be in prison because they possess marijuana? No, I do not. That's silly. It's not even a crime. Am I willing to say, oh, well, yes, little child, go smoke cannabis? No, I'm not willing to do that. And this is the way it's been presented to me. And maybe that's the way I'm
Yeah.
thinking of it. But you do make a point that I rarely talk about is that um, it does clog the courts and it criminalizes peaceful Hoosiers. In 2020, Illinois and Michigan in 2019 regular, legalized recreational cannabis use, and they brought in almost 4 billion, and that's billion with a B. How much money is Indiana missing by not making cannabis legal? Oh, I think Travis has um well, okay, I'll wait for him to get back and we'll get to some comments here. So Nelson is in the house. We need less Democrats and Republicans and more grassroots socialized democracy candidates who have the people's needs in their agenda. Hey Nelson, how you doing? Um, it's not just the redistricting, they're also pushing for voter suppression. That's what it really is. Yes, I think Travis dropped off because he said he was outside. So why is there and again, I'm coming from the legalizing cannabis as a moral religious argument. That's where I'm coming from. And I know people disagree with me. They say, "Oh, Tracy's it's a oh, there you are right there."
I'm so sorry. Anyways, so you cut out right when I stopped hearing you saying you're talking about cannabis and something that you
Yes, I was
rarely.
right. This is one of those issues while again, I do not believe that people should be in prison because they possess marijuana. I have for my own religious convictions, I have problems with making marijuana legal. However, your website makes the case, which I didn't even think about, that Illinois and Michigan have generated $4 billion of revenue.
Yeah.
How much is Indiana leaving on the table by not legalizing cannabis? And
Yep.
that's a question because I don't know the answer to it.
Nobody does. I mean, how much of that 4 billion would disappear if they stopped allowing the state of Indiana? You know, because a lot of people in the Northwest Indiana region go west or north so they can get some, buy some legal weed. But yeah, you're leaving all kinds of money on the table, and think about it this way: is that to me, if you're able to look around and learn from other states, right, and you have other options to fix our potholes, right? That's kind of ironic, potholes. But they just passed a law last year that said any road in the state of Indiana can become a toll road. Well, if why would you create more toll roads if you have this ability sitting right at your fingertips? And it checks both boxes or it checks three different boxes to me. First of all, as a libertarian and as an American, I believe in your right to do basically to your body what you want, as long as it's not affecting me or hurting anybody else or hurting, generally hurting yourself. um, I don't think that you know we I think that when you look at marijuana and you look at all of, first of all, it's the jury is pretty much has already said, hey, we generally speaking, marijuana, just like any other product, can have long term some memory stuff, but it's no better than alcohol. Actually, it's worse than alcohol. It's no better than the pills that you get subscribed to you. If you have surgery and you need pain relief, a lot of places are going more natural. They're using, something like that or edibles to kind of manage that. people in cancer treatment, and they don't want to take the pain pills because it stops up their stomach, and they're not able to pass a bowel movement, and it causes more problems. Those are all, I mean, I just right off the top of my head just gave a dozen reasons of why it's beneficial. But the most important one is because you're an adult and you should be
That's true.
allowed. You know what I mean? Like, you're an adult. You're right. If you're a child, just like alcohol, just like tobacco, I personally am against the fact that they moved tobacco to 21. I think that whatever the age is going to be, whether it's 18, whatever the age is that you're allowed to vote, I think that you should be allowed to drink and to do anything. I think if you're a
Or
legal
serve in the
adult, then you're a
military.
legal adult. Exactly. If you are old enough to be drafted, you're old enough to have a drink. That's my opinion. Um, I don't think. I think that if you're an adult, you're an adult. You're an adult. Period. And so I do feel that way about marijuana. I think that if you're 18 and you decide to have a and have a toke in your living room while you're playing video games after a Friday night, I think that that is just as valid as somebody stopping by the bar and playing a game of pool with their friends after a Friday night. It's the same exact thing. It's a different substance, and some could make the argument it's more safe because alcohol oftentimes has worse effects on the impairment and your different judgment stuff. So, I think in either case you shouldn't be behind the wheel of the car. I'm not suggesting that. As I say it, I want to make sure that's clear. But I do think, like I said, the most important thing is it's your liberty. I think you have that right, and I think in the meantime we can and should be able to cash in on that. Another thing is too is you get safe product. If you have a regulated market and you have something like that, there have been instances where people have found fentanyl in their, for whatever reason, even in their weed on the street. It's very rare, and it's not like an epidemic or nothing, but it has happened. I've read documented cases, and so if it's a regulated market, you do eliminate that issue as well.
Yeah, those are things. Like I said, I know my conviction. I'm coming
Yeah,
from a totally conservative, even though in my heart
it's
I'm a
okay.
liberal, but I know this is one of those ones I'm like, really,
Those are just
everybody?
words. Those are
But
just words. Liberal,
you're
conservative,
right.
none of that matters. We're human
Now
beings. That's it.
yeah, here's where I definitely agree with. Oh, I agree with this. I'm gonna skip in right to work because that's just an attack. Really, Indiana, um, you're just trying to stop unions. No new toll roads. I'm gonna skip
Yep.
to because I'm gonna ask a silly question. Why do we have toll roads in the first place?
Good question. Well, the toll roads are put in to find a way. So the argument for toll roads is that you switch a little bit of the tax burden to people that are using your highways, right? So, like in the state of Indiana, I understand having a toll road on 8094 or having a couple of toll roads to try to get a little faster service and to gain a little bit of money from truck drivers. But you know how you can fix that? Oh, hey, you have an Indiana license plate. All right, well, you shouldn't have to pay your toll. You pay taxes. If you're not from the state of Indiana, then okay, I'm fine. Charge a toll, right? If you're from Illinois and you drive through Indiana, that's to me what the conception was supposed to be, is that, well, people that are using our roads that don't pay the taxes that you and I do, we pay taxes for the upkeep of our roads. And if you're just driving through our state, and we have a state, we're right there in the middle of the Midwest. So we are, especially here in Northwest Indiana, people go up to Michigan, they go up to Wisconsin, they go to Chicago where we're at, they go down south to Indy. We are one of the busiest, and I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure we have this statistically, we have the most wrecks and we have the worst roads, even worse than Los Angeles, from what I've read and seen. But yeah, that's the idea, is that the toll roads are so that other people outside of the state of Indiana pay into the kitty. Now, the problem is with all things that the
Everybody's
government
paying it.
does, yeah,
Everybody that
everybody's
goes
paying.
through that toll is
Yep.
paying it.
And they keep jumping up the prices. They keep jumping up the rates. And not only do they keep jumping up the rates, but Mitch Daniels had that whole thing where we don't even see that on that road, because he made it so that it would go to that company. And what was, I think it was a 99-year lease, if I'm not mistaken. And so, but it was for a lump sum of money. Now they did a bunch with that lump sum of money, and we could go through all that. But the fact is with inflation, how much money have we lost just with inflation? It's crazy.
Yep. Is yeah, that one I definitely agree. And I'm like, well, why are there now? Here's where we're about to not agree.
That's
And
okay.
I'm gonna move on to income tax. And
Okay.
I'm going to read the whole paragraph because I'm not doing share screen right now. So, and this is according to your website, over the past decade, states without income taxes have seen about twice the population growth of the highest income tax states and strong job growth overall. People and businesses are voting with their feet. We already see that here in Northwest Indiana as thousands of people flee the high taxation of it. Indiana should explore a responsible phase out of the plan. And you say taxation is theft, and here is where my problem lies. If taxation is theft, how do we pay for cops, teachers, trash pickup?
Yes. So so that is the general ideology is that government should be as small. My general ideology, and libertarians in general, is that government should be as small as possible and only cover a handful of things. So you say police and you say cops. I think that the income tax, by having a quote unquote progressive income tax, you are unfairly burdening particularly the middle class. And really, if you look at it, you're also burdening the lower class, because the top earners, they pay their income tax, but they have loopholes, right? We know how the tax code works. The tax code works so that if you have the money to hire an accountant to get out of doing all of your taxation, that's what you can do. So at the top end, they have the money to find all the loopholes and get out of it, right? So one way or another, they're not going to pay any taxes. You can raise the rate, you can threaten whatever, but until you close those loopholes, then they are going to find a way to do it. And there's a lot of loopholes to close. There's a lot of bills. There's a lot of legislation. So the likelihood of really being able to, stick it to the rich, there is no sticking it to them. They have the power, unfortunately. And so the question is, how do we get better government with less money and also not unduly burden the people that work every day, right? So the people that are really hurt the most are the middle and lower class, because we don't have the real benefits of writing off all kinds of things. There are a lot of different benefits income wise for a lot of people that are on the bottom, towards the bottom. And I'm not suggesting that any of that's bad, but a lot of them don't look into it because they're so burdened down. So nobody's sitting calling them up and saying, hey, you should do this, this is how you should do your taxes. Yeah, you go and you take your taxes maybe to an H&R Block guy, but for the most part that also costs money. So realistically, I've had years that I made almost no money being in sales. I've been on the bottom. I've filed bankruptcy. I have had better lower income years than higher income years. And so my line of reasoning is, how do we get the fairest system? So to me, if you do away with the income tax to start, and you pare down what exactly we need to pay for in government, I'm not suggesting getting away from any social safety net. I'm suggesting replacing it with either some sort of VAT tax or some sort of state sales tax. So if you have your ability, you have all of your income, right? You have get away with the income tax, and you have a state sales tax that replaces it. You have the ability, every time you go to buy something, you have, I don't know, pick an arbitrary number, 3%, 4%, whatever. And everything does go up in price, but you have control of that taxation. If you decide not to spend your money on something, you're essentially not paying those taxes. Now, obviously that, you can say that, well, food items should be exempt, and you can get into the weeds on that all day long. But but if one tax system is better than the other, because the other thing about it is too, the people at the top, the people that make a lot of money, they buy a lot of crap.
Yep. So, oh, Travis is,
Or oh, there we go. If you switch over
yeah,
to a
okay.
value added text, yep, I'm back again. Sorry, it's switching back and
Yeah,
forth from.
your screen, I can hear you just fine. Okay, there you go. So the
There we go.
last one I want to ask, and I don't see it addressed on your site. Um, Indiana, I had Indiana gives money to Israel. This is not widely known. It's something
Yeah,
I recently found out a few months ago. I would think as a libertarian you would be against this,
yes, yes.
but
I actually thought I put it on there. I must not have. I actually
I didn't
wrote
see.
a. Yeah, no, I probably didn't. Sometimes I write it somewhere else and I forget to transcribe it. So no, I actually wrote a piece on my Substack, and my Substack is on my website. The link is at the bottom of the website. I actually wrote a piece as a candidate, and my belief that because not only do we give money to Israel, we've created a fund to try to invest money in Israeli businesses through using state tax funds. I am wholeheartedly against this, and I go into very minute details. The article is on my Substack. It is on my website. If you're watching this and you want to know, let me just say I am absolutely against giving Israel any money. Not just because I'm against giving away our money anyways, that to start, but also to back a country that is literally committing genocide. And not just even if and again, I always try to play devil's advocate. So even if you are like, well, it's not a genocide, Travis, that's not really fair. Why are we giving away the money in the first place? We don't have money to give to them. And if we're
Yeah,
going to
it's not like
invest
you're
via the
giving
state,
it right. It's not like you're giving it to the people of Indiana.
no. No,
I
well,
mean,
and here's the reality: we send money somewhere, and it goes through 5 different people's hands, and so every like, I don't remember what the conversion rate, but it's like every $1 million we send, only like 600,000 actually touches whatever we're sending it towards. By the time you pay off all the public official, by the time you pay off all the bureaucracy, and then the people that just flat out rob from it. And government contractors know this, and they purposely charge higher rates. We've seen that. We've seen those. That any it's not just a trope that if you're a government contractor, you usually bump your rate up because, well, it's government funds. We know they'll pay it.
it doesn't make when I'm reading this and I'm like, what? It's bad enough that the federal government is giving them money to commit genocide.
Yeah,
I,
still our
I
money.
won't even say I won't even say that it's not genocide. It's a
Yeah,
genocide.
I
Just
believe it's
that's
a
just
genocide.
the
Yes,
the point, the blank, and the period. But then you turn around at a state level in a state where homelessness is now illegal.
yes.
Don't build homes for the homeless. Don't do that, but make it illegal. Don't address the root problem, job opportunity and
Yep.
affordable shelter. Don't address that. But
Uh huh.
let's give Israel, this country, what is that, 130 million?
I you're get I
And
don't
I'm
I couldn't
probably
tell
on
you.
the low end. I'm
Probably.
probably on the low end. It's like we need legislators in our state that make sense. And a lot of what I'm
That's what I'm
hearing
trying.
from, yeah, a lot of from what we hear from Indiana, they don't make sense. It's a bunch of word salad. Well, let's just go along to get along. Let's have nuclear family month. Okay, so you're gonna be against gay marriage. That's okay because you have your own personal religious convictions. I understand that, but maybe
That's
public
fine.
office isn't for you. Maybe maybe you should just like not do that. But I don't get how we as Hoosiers have let this go on because it just seems to me so silly that one, we have a $4 billion surplus. We have money just sitting there, not spending it on education, not spending it
Yeah.
on addressing food deserts, not addressing any of the it's just sitting there. Then you're
Yep.
giving 100 and whatever it is, millions of dollars to Israel. You're making homelessness illegal. You're underfunding schools. And it's like, how did we let it get to this point? I don't, that's what I'm having a hard time
Yep.
understanding.
Well, it's not just this state, it's every state. Every state has a lot of these same problems. You know, they could be varying degrees and whatnots, but a lot of states are, everything's kind of coming to a head in the year 2026. If there's one thing that I can say that has happened throughout the 20s, is that there's a lot of people that are all of a sudden kind of standing up and looking around and going, hey, wait a minute, we're not going to have Social Security. I just turned 40. I'm not looking at having Social Security. There's no way that it's going to be
Oh,
Social Security
no.
around
Yeah,
by the
it's not
time
gonna, I
it
mean,
comes.
look,
You're
you,
still taking it out of my check. I'm still paying for it. I'm paying for a program I'll never see. Right. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are in that age group that are going, hey, you know, this isn't fair. And, and you're, it isn't fair to take our money and send it overseas to another country that's that has the global community wants him arrested, right? Like, it's not fair to have our money. Let's use the NIPSCO. Let's use the Northwest Indiana thing. Let's use the one of those points. It's not fair that NIPSCO gets to give their CEO a huge raise and they get to donate all this money in their name. And while they're doing all these things, they're also raising all of our rates and saying, sorry, you know, it's tough out here. We got
yeah,
to make sure that we can
yeah,
fix all this stuff. And you're going, you know, listen, after so many times, you can't keep peeing on my leg and tell me it's rain. And a lot of people are just done with it. You know, that's why I got back involved. I was out of it for a little while, and I kind of got, I kind of woke up one day and it kind of clicked, and I kind of looked around and said, you know, a lot of these issues that I thought were just smaller than what they are, they're not. This is all coming to a head. And we have a couple of different ways that we can fix it. We can fix our government we have now, or we can watch everything kind of crumble just like Rome did. Just like so many other countries have. And I don't necessarily want that, because I don't want that for my children. But I don't want a surveillance state for my children and future grandchildren. I don't want a state where there is no middle class and you just have a handful of people that are at the very top and then everybody else is a wage slave. You're losing that very slowly, and it's eroding, but it's picking up pace. And yeah, you know, we have an economy that isn't really an economy where you're building much of anything. All they're doing are popping up these data centers. We have an economy where you have all these businesses are trying to make it an AI economy, and you're not actually asking the working person. And I'm sorry, there's nothing socialistic about that. There's nothing communistic about that. There's nothing leftist about that. That's a human statement, and I think that that's important.
right. Nelson, I'm gonna get to this, and this will be the last point, and I don't need your response. I just want to make sure I'm getting to Nelson. So Nelson says this is not true. Social Security will always be there, but unfortunately, if they don't remove the FICA cap, Social Security will get a 23% cut in 80 more months.
I'd have to double check what the numbers are, but the last numbers I saw was that Social Security was going to be insolvent by, I think, 2032, something like that. So maybe you saw some different data than I did, Bud. I'll never, again, like I said in my earlier post on there, I'm always happy to look at different articles. If there's an article link that you can post, I'll happily read it. And there's another option. Yeah, it might always be there. But what my guess is that they won't just all of a sudden say, all right, there's no more Social Security. How they'll do away with Social Security is they'll just slowly raise the age of it until it gets phased out. You know, yeah,
Yeah,
if I mean, they're already doing
right.
that.
Let's see, you're 40, I'm 52. I already figure, oh, I'm not retiring. It's just, I'm just already just in my head. I've already prepared for it. It's like, okay,
Yep.
just keep myself healthy. Just and that's if you look at Walmart, you see a lot of seniors working
Oh
at
yeah.
Walmart. That shouldn't be.
Yep.
You should be
It shouldn't be, but
basically
that's.
living your
Sorry. Go ahead.
best life, as my nieces would say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and this is one I'm that I believe that they want to privatize Social Security and give it to
They've talked
and
about it. I mean, they've already kind of done that slowly. If you look at the fact that most jobs don't have any severance, or what's it? What did they used to call it?
pensions.
Was that it? Yeah, pensions. Thank you. You know, you don't really have pensions anymore. I've got a 401k. My company matches X percentage. I forget what it is. Whatever it
Yeah,
is, I signed up
but
for
you
it,
make so
several years ago. But
little, it works better when there's something coming out of your check. But if you take something out of your check, that means your income is going to be less.
yes, I take a smaller income in order to have a company invest it and invest it smartly so that I have money. And I get that. I think that that's a supplemental. But that's all I'm going to have. They're not going to have Social Security by the time I'm that old, or at least it'll be I'm sorry, they might push it up enough so that I might get it for a year, the last year I'm alive in my late 80s. And and hey, I'd be happy to be wrong. I think I can be wrong if we're able to do something and change what our spending
Well,
habits are and how we
yeah,
do it.
well, if we didn't spend so much money on war, oh, let me stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I didn't want to
I,
go there. I'm
I'm
just
there.
like,
Listen,
hey,
I can go out there all day long. I'm with you.
you want to save money, even though I prescribe to MMT, and I know my MMTers are watching. But just as a moral thing, come on. We could stop allocating all this money for wars. It's
Yep.
just immoral. Just on the moral argument. Just
Yeah.
on the corporations are getting rich and they employ so many people. We've got to do something. But like I said, um, finally, just tell us where we can find you at.
Absolutely. So a good place to start, travisgearhart.com, just as it's spelled right here on my name there. It's got all of my state rep stuff. There's also links on that page that go to my podcast. It's a disenfranchised podcast. I also do a YouTube channel called Travis Gearhart is Ungovernable. Those are links. Those aren't anything to remember too much. You can click those on either one of the websites. Yeah, both Disenfranchised Podcast has all of my stuff on there. And like I said, we use the podcast as a way to also spread our messages and also get a chance to bring on guests and learn. I think that that's important. I love this back and forth right here with you. We didn't agree on everything, and that's okay. We each had our points, and it was a good lesson. So yeah, travisgearhart.com is the best place. TRAVISGEARHART. I'm on Facebook. I don't really do much on Instagram. TikTok. I do on TikTok, but yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. Just type me in, and I kind of try to link everything together as best as possible. And yeah, and wish me luck. And if you have, if you feel so inclined, please don't hesitate to donate. We actually have a spot. If you looked on the donate site, we actually have some good libertarian shirts that. It's not, you're not buying the shirt because it's a donation, and so we are giving you the shirt for free. But if you do a $40 donation, you get a free campaign shirt. You get a chance to choose which one design you want. And you pick it, you send me your address, and you get a campaign shirt that you get to wear. There's some good ones, like there's one that says "Be Ungovernable." There's another one that says Travis Gearhart for state rep, because there's not any libertarians in the Epstein files. There's some kind of fun ones like that you can wear around and support the cause.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I've had one of the more enjoyable experiences with a libertarian candidate. Usually I end up arguing, and I didn't do that today. So I'm really glad. Um,
Me too.
um, like you said, we had our little moments of disagreement, but in general, I see where you're going.
That's good.
And
That's
we
perfect.
need to
That's the whole point.
and as long as you're not a Democrat or Republican, I'll listen.
Definitely not.
Because
Definitely not.
um but everybody remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, like, share, comment, subscribe. Remember Saturday, the Saturday show comes on at 7 o'clock p.m. on Saturdays, and we'll have the Sunday show at 7. We've got a lot to talk about this week on the Sunday show, but stay tuned. Again, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, support the drama camp. I can't tell you how important it is to support our drama camp for inner city children that will be displaying their skills in a stage presentation. Support. We're trying to raise 3,500. No, we're trying to raise $10,000. Let me take that back. We're trying to raise $10,000. Your donation of 5, 10, 20, or even if you have so inclined, $10,000 would be so appreciated. The link is in the description section. I will see you all Saturday. Have a great, 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 great evening.